from here? I said, hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey now.
There's excitement and maybe anxiety. There's excitement, depending upon where you are in school, about seeing your old friends.
Yes.
Excitement about learning new things for some kids.
Who's going to be in my class?
Who's going to be in my class,
yeah.
right? What's my teacher going to be? Well, then you get into the anxiety things. Who's going to be in my class? What's my teacher going to be like? Oh, I'm excited about learning new things, but will I be able to handle the new challenges?
A lot going on.
Sure, and there's the downer of, wow, I've had a summer off and I've done nothing but have fun.
Play Nintendo and hang outside with my buddies,
Right.
and now, and now it's how to get back in and enthusiastically and with the right kind of attitude.
Right.
And I read somewhere on one of the releases actually, or a study conducted by, let's say, Friends of Oxford Learning, that families, people prepare themselves more so physically, on a physical level. They go shopping, they buy a lot of things,
Right.
than they do mentally. Nobody's actually getting mentally prepared for the back to school.
I think it's easier, and as you said there are commercials. I mean, we're being brainwashed to go out and shop for new
buy your binders
bags and
and
binders
stuff,
and stuff. And maybe that's easier for parents to do than to actually think about what the child might be going through emotionally or academically. And I think it's important. I think it's important that you'd use both. Yeah, we want to be prepared physically. We want to get into get back into the routines of going to bed at a decent hour, eating properly, get your back to school wardrobe together. I'm sure retailers love the back to school time as well.
They say they spend more money at this time than they do at Christmas.
I read somewhere, I saw on TV something like $250 million in Canada on back to school for girls, and a little bit more for girls than boys.
Wow.
Anyway, but still in the same range. But we want to help the kids get ready emotionally.
How do we do that?
Well, depends a little bit on the age that we're talking about. So maybe young children going to school to kindergarten, maybe for the first time. We might want to take them on a little tour. We might want to go with them the first day. We might want to talk with them a little bit about what they have done that's like school. Maybe they've been to gymnastics or they've been to swimming lessons.
Yeah, or preschool.
Or preschool. And help them imagine what the good things about what it can be going forward, so that we reduce that anxiety, build comfort and confidence.
So talking to them, really, that's the main point. Talk to them about what they're going to experience and how it's going to be great.
Right, exactly. And for kids, say, who have had some school experience in the early, the primary years or the middle years, you can also then build on last year's experience. So what did you like about school last year? So have them reflect on the good things that happened. It's also worth reflecting on, and their successes, of course, academically or socially. But it's also worthwhile at this time of year to help, in order to get them ready, to help them project and think about what's going to happen. What could I be excited about? What might I want to accomplish this year?
Yeah, goal setting.
How did it, if something didn't feel good last year, then let's talk about how could we make it feel better this year.
Now here you're bringing up something interesting. What if, let's say, I have, grade 5 Johnny going into grade 6, and in grade 5 Johnny was, he wasn't doing so well in math. Can we assume he's going to do maybe even worse now that we're at a step higher?
I'm afraid so.
And how do you deal with this type of scenario?
I mean, I'm afraid so because math is a good example. You need to do well in grade 5 so you can build on it in grade 6. It is going to get harder. So what can we do? Well, let's set that as a goal, Johnny, to work on. And if a subject, I tell kids, I'm sorry if something's hard for you, but if it's harder for you, then you just have to work a little harder at it. But let's also learn how to work smarter. What maybe went wrong? Well, we didn't do all our homework last year. And in math, that's a really important part of solidifying the skills. It's the practice that makes perfect part of it. So setting up, planning and setting up, and parents often have to do this initially, helping kids set up good routines, homework routines, organizational skills, so that they don't fall behind, so that they won't start feeling overcome by school or overpowered by school.
How about tutoring? I mean, I know you've been still tutoring throughout the summer months.
Yep.
I can imagine all those keen, good students
well,
that have been working through.
They are, and the ones who've been coming to us in the summer, they're excited about going back to
Yeah.
school. We've been building their skills
they
and
must be,
helping
yeah.
them and get ready for the next year. So whether it be during the summer or going forward, and that would be the last thing I'd suggest to parents is
30 seconds.
if a child is going to be, if you're anticipating they're going to have difficulty, or if you see in the first few weeks that they're having difficulty, give them the support that they need,
Yeah.
whether that be at home or look outside
Yeah.
to Oxford to help.
And what's great about Oxford, I know this about you guys, I've had tutors in the past, you teach kids how to learn.
Right.
So it's teaching them to fish for the future. We have to wrap things
Okay.
up already. I can't believe it. Now I guess it's back to another commercial break.
Hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey now. Hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey now, where you gonna go from here? I said, hey.
Welcome back to A Morning. We have been talking over the last couple of weeks about shopping and heading back to school and school supplies and the right look and clothes. But really, when it comes down to it, we still have to get the children back mentally into getting back and getting up and having breakfast and getting to classes. And joining us right now is Sue Chapman, who's with the Oxford Learning Centre. You're the Centre Director. Welcome to our show. Hi. And this is really, there's so much we can do in terms of preparing them with all the goods that they need for heading back. But a lot of it is the mental preparation.
Absolutely, yeah, the mental preparation for the child, to talk about going back to school, getting them excited for going back to school, but remembering why they're going back to school, which is to learn and to be successful. So yeah, we need to help our kids start to get back into that routine. You were saying, starting to get them to do a little bit of work at home maybe during this last week of the holidays.
We've started going through the workbooks. I'm like, okay, we have to get through a page or two a day just to get them back into
just to
feeling
get
that
the
they're
brains back in gear. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Do you find too that students might start at this point to be starting to get nervous or anxious?
Well, of course, that's natural. Anxious, excited, they go hand in hand. So you need to reassure them. One of the things we suggest at Oxford is for parents to pull out the last report card and review it for themselves, but review it with their child as well. Remind themselves of where the child did really well, but also look at the trouble spots and come up with a plan of action for how we're going to be successful this year.
Any way in terms of getting them starting to get their brains working earlier? A lot of some of the teenagers have been sleeping in a little bit more.
Well,
it's starting to
yes.
set the alarm clocks back and getting them ready over the
Absolutely.
next week or so.
Yes, and the whole subject of cell phones, video games, TV time. Important, I think, to lay down some new ground rules to remind children of the timetable that they're going to have to start to follow.
Have you had any experience with children who are excited to head back to school? They're positive towards learning. They get there, they have a bad experience within the first couple of days or relationship with their teacher, and then everything just kind of backfires.
Well, yes, that does happen. I mean, this mental preparation going on before, you can hope to problem prevent. But for parents, in preparing themselves, be ready to establish a relationship with the child's teacher, know what's going on in school, and help the child plan, organize their time. Organization is really key for a successful school year.
At what point do you think, as a parent, and you're realizing that the child is maybe not doing as well or is having problems, that you try to get to the problem and the issues as soon as possible without letting them go too long?
No, absolutely, as soon as possible. Well, why wait? What are you waiting for? Get on top of it sooner rather than later, for sure. Make sure that you're in touch with your help And if the school isn't able to help or willing, or if the problem isn't felt yourself.
It's a challenge too for the parents. It's a big change for us as well.
Well, it is. I think it's equally a problem for parents, their children going back to school, as it is for the children themselves. And they really need to get their brains in gear for the onslaught of the school year.
The onslaught, I think the first time it's going to be the alarms going off. Everything's starting a little bit earlier. And with that said, thank you so much. And for people, they can find a lot more information at the Oxford website.
Yes, oxfordlearning.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Best of luck to all of you as you head off into your first couple of weeks of school. You're going to need to get up early. That's the key right there. An alarm clock usually does the trick.
And we've got Andrea from Oxford Learning on the show. A lot of people, especially going into university, they struggle with mathematics. So we're going to tell you how you can help your kids get better with mathematics and prepare yourself. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Well, I'm sure the senior students are not going to like to hear this at the beginning of the school year, but it's very important to plan for your post-secondary education. We're talking about mathematics in particular today because Oxford Learning did a survey. To tell us more about it is Andrea Gatch. Andrea, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And you guys did do a survey, and the survey told you what?
Well, the survey told us, it was a survey done for Oxford Learning for Canadian parents, and it said that 4 out of 10 Canadian parents are not confident that their students' math skills are really ready for college or university, and that they're not going to get the marks needed to get in.
And that can, I mean, that makes or breaks you, right? When you're going into your post-secondary education.
Yeah, and so many programs require math now, and so it's really important that they don't fall behind, even as early as grade 9.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, and especially math too, right?
Yeah.
That's the subject I find that
It
kids,
is.
I mean, myself in high school,
Yeah.
math wasn't my forte, let me just say.
Yeah, it's a struggle for a lot of kids.
Yeah, it can be.
And a lot of schools, they're semestered now, and so they have math every single day, and they cover a lot of material every day, so it's really easy to fall behind.
Well, and you've got some great tips, right? And some
Yeah.
learning habits that we want to talk about here today. Your first tip that you say is begin early.
Yeah,
Expand on that
definitely.
for us. What do you mean by
Well,
that?
definitely, it's the beginning of school right now. Some kids are starting this week, some kids are starting next week.
Right.
And you want to make sure that they get off to the right start right away.
Yes.
You want to talk to your kids and make sure that they're planning when they're going to do their homework. You want to make sure that they're, even just this week, making sure that their alarm clock is set so that it's not
They get up.
Exactly. A lot of teens sleep until noon during
Right.
the summer. You want to make sure that they're planning their clothes the night before, just little things like that. And also really just planning, well, what are your goals for the school year? So
Right.
go back to last year's report card, go back to the June report card. And if there were problems then, the problems aren't going to go away in September. So you want to talk to them and say, what are we going to do about this? How are we going to solve this problem now so that we can get it and fix it right now?
So being organized, that's
Exactly.
a huge,
It's a big deal, yeah.
and it's a good skill to have,
Yeah.
right? If you learn to be organized and be time management as a youngster, then as an adult, right? Set those goals.
Yep.
I wish I had done that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
No, but it's true. It's something we
true.
never even
That's
think
it.
about.
It's
What about
true.
tips for people organizing
Yeah,
themselves?
definitely. Well, a lot of schools give out agendas now, so all the kids have agendas, but they don't teach them how to use them.
That's it.
Right.
And so kids have these agendas and they sit in their backpack and they're never taken out. And they say, well, do you have a test tomorrow? I don't know. It's not in my agenda. So you really have to talk to your kids and make sure they have a routine set up.
That's right.
So they come home, they open up their agenda, they know what their homework is, they have a specific homework time, and they have a specific homework place. So that they're really organized for the next day and they know what's coming.
What do you think about children nowadays, just kind of all the screen time they have?
Yeah.
So if it's DS screen or TV screen
Yeah.
or laptop
Yeah.
screen, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever talk to parents about, you know what? Why don't we only allow this amount of time for screen time for the children? Is
Yeah.
that something you talk about?
That's definitely something we talk about. We also talk about a designated homework space. And
like
to
that.
make sure that your homework space, there's no computer, there's no TV, there's no cell phones, there are no
That's right.
distractions.
Right.
That's
Because when I talk to a lot of teenagers at the center, I say, well, where do you do your homework? Well, I do it in my room where there's a computer, a TV, a phone. They're on Facebook the whole time.
iPod.
Exactly. So you want to make sure that those distractions are limited.
Absolutely.
Is there a recommended time, Andrew, for students to do their homework? Should they do it before dinner, after dinner? Does it really matter?
Well, it definitely depends on the student. If they have after-school activities, they might want to make their designated homework time at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. A lot of high school students tell me that they feel better doing it later at night. They're more awake at night.
Sure.
They do it at 8 o'clock or even 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
But it really depends on the student. But you really can't let that happen later on in the year. You have to decide right now, when am I going to do my homework every day?
Right.
Yeah.
Another recommendation that you have is, get the brain active.
Yes.
So for parents out there, and as Kathy was saying, math is a big struggle for a lot of students,
It really
and
is.
it almost seems overwhelming. You don't even want to start it.
Yeah.
What about helping parents get their kids even started and their brains active?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can do little things like even just playing simple board games, like
Sure.
cribbage uses a lot of math. Even just a little bit of mental math, doing it with them,
Definitely.
can really help them start into the new school year and get their brains ready, because their brains have been not active during the summer.
They need to
and
get
so,
warmed
yeah.
up a little
Yeah.
bit, right?
Active,
Exactly.
but not academically. Right?
Yes, for
Exactly.
sure.
I
Yeah.
wonder what it is about math. It seems to be, I remember all through primary and high school, math was just,
Yeah.
Why is it so difficult?
Yeah.
Do you
why
know?
is that so difficult?
I mean, it's different for a lot of kids. They do give you a lot of information at once, though,
Sure.
and math builds on those basic skills.
It
And
does.
so if kids miss those basic skills, if they don't know their multiplication and division facts,
Right.
and then they move on to grade 9 math and they're doing algebra, they're lost. And
Definitely.
so kids really need to make sure that they're keeping up with everything that they're learning in math, because if you miss one skill, you're not going to be able to apply it to something else.
What
Right.
about like
Yeah.
flashcards? You remember
Yeah.
flashcards?
Oh, yeah,
Oh my
flashcards
gosh,
are
I was
great.
the flashcard queen.
I know.
Those are so
We're
much
all
fun.
shocked
They're
to hear
great.
that, Kathy. I can just see you with them all excited. Of course,
That's a great way.
Yeah,
Exactly.
definitely. Yeah, flashcards are great. Even just if you're going for a little ride in the car, even just, you know, just a little bit here
Yeah.
and there is going to make a big difference.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And if there's a student out there or parents watching that has a student that's really struggling,
Yeah.
obviously come to you guys,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. We have 5 locations in Ottawa, so you're going to find one near your house, and we can help you out with study skills. We
Yes.
can keep you, so you're keeping up to date with math, and you're not
Right.
going to be disappointed once report card time comes around.
Andrea,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your
Thank
help.
you
Really
for having
appreciate
me.
it. You want to find out more, you can of course visit the Oxford Learning website. Don't go away, we're going to tell you about a great event happening in Canada to raise funds for a brand new recreation complex. We'll be right back after this.
When you finally understand something you've never understood before, when the penny drops, when the light bulb goes on, it feels good, real good. Oxford Learning Centers, way, way beyond tutoring. Learn more at oxfordlearning.com.
Rachel Lawrence, who is the Centre Director of the Oxford Learning Centre here in St. Thomas. I am going to try to use my best enunciation and grammar today. I don't want to get reprimanded for that. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Tell us, first of all, where is the Oxford Learning Centre here in St. Thomas?
We are located right downtown here on Centre Street, right behind the studio here at 172 Centre Street in the upper portion.
Okay. Now, quick question. Why isn't it called the Elgin Learning Centre?
Well, Oxford Learning is a franchise, so we actually have many, many locations across Canada, Ontario, and the US. So it's a franchise that started in 1984.
Is that right? It's been around that long?
That's right.
Great. And did it start the same way it is today? Is it doing the same purpose, exact same programs, or is it built and been better over time?
There has been a lot of growth since 1984 as far as programs and curriculum, but yes, it did start out with the same purpose in mind, helping students.
And okay, so that's my next question. You beat me to it. What can the Oxford Learning Centre do for those of us that are watching with children? How can it help our children?
Well, students can come with all kinds of questions and all kinds of abilities as well. Our programming is individualized for students, so a lot of students come for help with their classroom curriculum. The high school students typically want help with their coursework, but we also teach a variety of basic skills in language, math, and we also have a really good study skills program.
Okay. I was a kid once. I know we don't always convey what's going on at school, some of the issues that we're having with different classes. How can I tell that my child might need some assistance from the Oxford Learning Centre?
Well, communication with the classroom teacher is very important. These days there is a planner that usually goes home between parent and child and teacher where communication is welcomed. Students who are having difficulty, it's easy to see when homework comes home or there's frustration or arguing when it comes to homework tasks or reading, math tasks that they need to do. So a lot of parents just know that their child is having difficulty in school. Sometimes extreme cases you'll have students saying that they don't feel well or they don't want to go to school. School is meant to be enjoyable and fun and a learning environment where kids are succeeding.
Okay. Now, my kids are doing great in school. Can they still come to the Learning Centre to improve the way they are right now?
Absolutely. Again, our programming is individualized for each person. So we consult with the parents and the school. We have an assessment available as well, where we can look at the students' skills and their areas of need, and then we design the program accordingly. So enrichment, absolutely. Something different, need a challenge, or need organizational skills, study skills, those things are all needed for success at school, and we teach those.
I suppose it depends on the particular child and how much time they need to actually come to the centre. What's an average amount of time in a week, say, that a child should come?
Students usually spend about 2 hours a week with us, and that usually ends up being on 2 separate evenings. After school or in the evening is when they come to the centre to work with a certified teacher on their program.
Okay. And who are the educators? Who are the people that work at the Learning Centre? Are they retired teachers? Or are they?
I have a little bit of both. I have teachers who are on the supply list but also do some tutoring in the evening, but we are all certified teachers.
Okay. Now we wanted to talk a little bit about early literacy. We're going to have to go to break here in about 30 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, I'm hearing in my ear. So we'll talk a little bit about early literacy, and parents can learn some tips on how to get their young children reading early. And you were mentioning before the show, not too early, even at age 3 to get interested in reading.
Absolutely. Start as an infant.
Okay, we'll talk about that when we come back from the break with Rachel Lawrence from the Oxford Learning Centre. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside Elgin. Mike Vecchio here with Rachel Lawrence from the Oxford Learning Centre. Before the break, we were speaking about early literacy and never too early to get your kids to read. So Rachel, tell us some tips. What are some tips that we can use at home to get our kids interested in reading, which parlays into successful school careers?
Absolutely. Reading is the single most important tool that you're going to have in your life for success. So the earlier the better. And students and kids as young as 2 and 3 years old can very much be a part of reading and activities involving reading, not only just being read to, but using flashcards and things like that will really help them to be interested in reading and be ahead of the game once they enter grade 1.
Okay, you see the texting and the typing of all that and the language, not the language, but the way they spell things. Kids are going to have a hard time when they actually get into the real world and actually have to type regular emails and write things down, so that's a good tip. No homework. Dad, I have no homework.
Yeah.
Is that the case? Does that really happen?
Well, if that happens in your household, then I really encourage you to go back to the reading. Make sure that your family is reading for pleasure. Find things that students are interested in reading. Often it means a trip to the library. Have your kids have their own library card. You can have a library card as young as, I believe, 4 years old. So you can go to the library, check out a bunch of different things. You don't even have to invest in buying all the books your students are into reading. The library is a great way to try on different genres of reading, magazines, anything that's going to interest them. Some students are more interested in nonfiction other than fiction, so it's a matter of trying things out.
Okay, now I have to admit, sorry Mom, when I grew up, I kind of dreaded report card day for the most part. I knew phys ed would be okay. What tips do you have for parents so that their kids don't dread report card day? What can they do right now to help them out?
I think it's very important to stay on top of things. If you start to notice that something's amiss or that your child is falling behind in even completing their homework independently, or they're starting to get frustrated, or they're losing confidence, it's time to think about what the next steps are. Talk to the classroom teacher, get some information from him or her about how to help at home, and by all means come and have a look at Oxford Learning Centre.
Okay. How important are agendas? The kids now, the schools provide them with agendas. Should they be using them? Are they helpful? What is your thought on that?
I'm a huge advocate for planning and for using those agendas, and even though the students don't find them all that popular, or they're not really loving using them, it's very important to learn how to use them. If you don't learn how to use them, you won't know how valuable they are.
Awesome. Rachel, thanks very much for coming in to speak to us today.
Thank you.
We'll take those tips and make better kids out there. Elgin County. We'll be right back. We're going to speak with Ruth Crocker from the St. Thomas Public Library when we come back.
We're at Oxford Learning Centre, and I'm with franchise owner Heather Sukurski. Heather, why is it important that students maintain their studying all summer long?
Studies have shown that students that lose that momentum, they fall behind, they lose skills, and catching up in September can be very hard to do.
And what are some learning tips for parents and students?
Students absolutely have to keep reading. They also want to be doing some journaling and writing or blogging, and keeping math in the program is important too.
Okay, math and reading skills, both important. And you are holding a book report contest.
We are. We have a range of books for students in the primary grades through to high school. They just need to read those and submit a 250-word book report.
Okay, so whether it's a report on Tuesdays with Maury or the Adventures of Captain Underpants and many other books, and some great prizes as well, Chapters gift cards, an iPad mini. So just submit your report to oxfordlearning.com. You've got over 120 locations in Canada and the US. Thank you, Heather.
Here's Emma. Emma, say your last name so I say it right for me.
Shakeen.
Shakeen, the Centre Director of the Oxford Learning London and in Byron.
Yep.
And Lenka Whitehead is with us, and you're the Centre Director of Southwest of Oxford Learning. Thank you very much for being here. We're going to talk about encouraging learning throughout the summer. Maybe, you can start us off with just, for those who don't know, Oxford Learning at the Centre, what it's all about.
Sure. It's during the school year, obviously. It's after-school programming for children who need enrichment or extra help. We also have a preschool program for 3 to 6-year-olds, and we're here all year round. So even during the summertime too, we offer quite an extensive array of programs from reading, math, writing, French, university prep, high school prep.
Now, Lenka, are these programs that people are making up credits, or are they looking to just enrich themselves or better a grade? How does it affect?
Actually, all of the above.
All that, yeah?
Yes, most of the children that come to us have learning gaps, but some also just need enrichment. They are performing well, but the parents want more for them. So either way.
And do they just contact you if they want to get, or sometimes is it referrals? How does it work?
Both. We get a lot of referrals from our existing families, or if people need help, they give us a call or hop on our website and send us an email.
That website is oxfordlearning.com, by the way. So the age groups that you'll see in that come in, does it range, and how do they range?
Yep. We have students as young as 3 years of age for it's a half-day preschool program. We also deal with some university students as well. So.
And they might call you a university student and just say, I'm majoring in this, I'm looking for some extra help in this, what do you offer?
Absolutely,
Can you give us an example, one of you, from at a university program?
Well, we run a French program out of our center, and actually Emma does too. So we've had university students coming to us for French enrichment, or just even learning the verbs and pronouns and such in French. We've also had them come in for grammar, because they actually do have to write essays, and a lot of them don't know how to go about that. And sometimes for math, we deal with trig and calculus and such, and when they need a little bit of extra help, they come to us. And usually, for the math, the students that come to us have been to us before they entered university, so they know we can do it, and they come back.
Why do a lot choose to do it in the summer? Is that the best opportunity for some? Is that why it's so big?
It's busy, and it's their only academic program that they're attending in the summer. So children of all ages tend to make really great gains in the summertime. And it's just a matter of a couple of weeks an hour, or a couple of hours a week.
That's what I was going to ask you, because some people may hear that even for their kids. They're thinking, I'd like to get my kids some help, but I also want them to have the enjoyment of summer.
For sure,
So
we're
a couple
flexible.
Hours?
Yeah, it can be as little as 2 hours a week.
And what will they get from it? Do they get a diploma or a certificate? How do they, or their teachers know that they've completed the course? What happens?
Well, our programs are customized to the students' needs, right? So parents generally know where the gaps are. So we do an assessment, find out exactly where the gaps are, what the child's learning style is, if they have any learning weaknesses, and we sort of hone the program towards that. So it's very customized. We have flexible hours during the summer, mornings and evenings as well. And the student actually progresses at the level that they need to in order to succeed. So if there are learning gaps, we can catch them up over the summer, and they'll be ready for the next grade. And
Geez, I think this is so, I don't recall this when I was growing up, years ago. But, you know, I was one of those people who could have used that, you know, that little bit of, and it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Nope.
You know, I'm not kidding, because I had a hard time with math, hard time with grammar. You know, if it was something when I could just go like drama and express myself, I was king of the world. But when it came down to that focus, that's where it was tough, and it still is for me. To this day, this isn't an adult program too. Can an adult come in who wants to
We have had adults in the past, but generally we deal with students between the age of 3 and let's say 18.
That's a priority.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and especially in the summertime, the kids, their brain tends to take a break, so it's important not to let that happen. And there's lots of ways you can do it. You can enroll in a program at Oxford, you can encourage your kids to read, get them to do a journal or scrapbook a vacation, something, any sort of activities like that.
Sudoku.
Yep.
Is that right?
Puzzles.
Just to get it going. And is it how is this funded? Is there a fee for someone to enroll, and they can inquire about that once they decide to make the decision? So there's 3 locations,
in
correct?
London.
In London.
Yeah.
One in Byron. That's where you are.
Yes.
You're in Byron. One and where's your location?
I'm actually in Westmount at the corner of Commissioners and Wonderland.
Oh, you're right there. Yeah, I thought so. And where's the 3rd location?
At Fanshawe Park and Adelaide.
So there's something, a lot of the different ends of the city
and all across Canada and the States.
Is that right, eh?
We actually have one in St. Thomas, too.
Oh, okay. Great. And the website is oxfordlearning.com. If they see this and they think they want to get involved, is it filling up? Do you have to book in advance? How far in advance should you book?
Well, we can pretty much get you in within a matter of a couple of days. The big thing to book is the assessment, because it does take a couple of hours to complete that. And then we have to generate an assessment result and then build a program.
Boy, we're just about out of time. I imagine this is very rewarding for the people who come in.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I see you both smiling. Eh? This one effort that they make could just enrich them or help them out, get them over the hump, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so
it's
good.
such a relief for the family, too. They've found a solution, and we love working with the kids. It's fun.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
And sharing all this with us. I love learning something new. That's why I tell everyone about doing the show, about learning about new things that are there in our community.
All right, welcome back to the show, folks. Well, we were telling you about our favorite moments from the summer, and of course we were telling you about summer camp, because for a lot of kids, summer camp is a moment that really defines their childhood. We were talking to Camp Kodiak a little while ago, and they were telling us how Part of the benefit of kids going to camp and being outside of the classroom is that kids sometimes learn better when they're not in the typical classroom setting.
That's right, and actually Kodiak has special programs at their camp to help kids kind of continue learning through the summer season. But our next guest has something that's a little bit more convenient, a little closer to home, and it can actually last all year round. Our next guest is talking to us about Oxford Learning Centre. We have Sean Syed with us right now on the Big Red Couch. Welcome.
Hey,
Thank you.
Sean.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming in today. And of course, as we mentioned, kids sometimes learn when they are not in a conventional setting. Tell us what you do at Oxford.
What we do is we create a fun environment for students and make sure that we're keeping them intellectually stimulated throughout the summertime. That way, when they go back to school in September, it's a little bit easier to get those creative juices going and get those neurons firing again.
And of course, summertime is a perfect time for this program because they lose a lot of their memory of what they've learned the year before, and it's important to kind of keep things fresh for kids. So tell us what you have planned right now for the summer season.
We have lots of fun activities and summer camps, and only about 2 to 3 hours a week throughout the summertime can make sure that kids don't lose a lot of that momentum that they do over the summer to make sure that they're ready for September. You mentioned studies earlier. Research from the Johns Hopkins University has shown that students can lose up to 2.6 months of computational math ability over the summertime, and with only a few hours at Oxford and doing other activities with families like Sudoku and doing crosswords and things in the summertime, students can be so much more prepared.
Well, and that's what it is, right? Because kids think of their summer. You don't want to take that away from them completely, but you want to integrate fun into learning. So how do you make sure that learning is fun?
Well, besides the fact that we have really small ratios and certified teachers, we have customized programs, and with tons and tons of positive reinforcement at the center, we make sure kids are feeling confident, they're feeling motivated, and that way, like I said, when they go back to school in September, they've got that skill set that they're going to need to make sure that they're successful.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of Oxford Learning Centre, when it all began and how it's developing?
It's actually, it began in 1984. The founder, Dr. Nick Whitehead, developed a program for students to make sure that we're reaching that metacognitive help that they need to get them really academically prepared and give them that critical thinking. There's hundreds of locations now throughout the world now. If you take a look at oxfordlearning.com, there's lots of useful information for parents and families to take a look at and see if that fits their needs.
So who are the right kids to come to Oxford? What age are you looking at? And is there a particular child that you focus on, or can any child really go?
Any child that is between the ages of 3 years old and 18 years old is what we cater to. And really, we have such a wide demographic and skill set in terms of the types of children that come to the center. But every one of us needs to get better at something at some point educationally. And I think Oxford Learning provides an environment where, through a positive and fun way, then they can develop those skills.
And it is that confidence factor, as you mentioned, that really can impact how a kid goes back to school in September.
Yeah.
Tell me if you have seen any stories of kids really, coming in at a certain level, not reading so well, not doing math so well, working with you guys throughout the summer, and going back to school with that confidence when it comes to September.
Absolutely. We've had so many kids come through our doors that, they just feel that they're not able to do it because, it's such a large classroom at school, and they get a few tests back that aren't as positive, and they're really lacking in some of that self-confidence and self-esteem. The one story I can think of is a young lady that came in last year, wonderful family, great kid, having a little bit of challenge with word problems. We found out by doing a diagnostic evaluation, the challenge was actually comprehension. It wasn't that she couldn't do the 5 + 5, it was decoding that from the question. She came in the summer, like I said, about 2 or 3 hours a week, had a fun time, did some of the homework we provided, and when she went back to school in September, she had that confidence that we're speaking about, and that way she was able to kind of, move forward and pick up the new material in an easier way, because she had that, that motivation that, what, wow, I got this over the summertime, the light bulbs went off, and those aha moments happened.
Exactly.
And she was ready.
I love the aha moments. I'm happy you brought that up, actually. Well, this kind of relationship that you're talking about and how you discovered the problem with this young girl really was because of that one-on-one time. That's something that you don't really get in that classroom setting. So let's talk about the relationship then that the teacher has with these students at the Oxford.
Well, like I said, because teachers are off in the summertime and students are, involved in summer camps and things like that, it's great because, like you mentioned earlier, it's such a small ratio. We have a 3-to-1 ratio typically. We're able really to convey to the students, what it is that's going on in not just the teachers' lives, but in their lives. And that way what happens is there's that connection and that rapport that's built. And, because, like I mentioned, it's a fun environment and we have that small ratio, we're able to really focus in on individual students' needs and celebrate that soccer goal or that hockey triumph that they had over the summertime.
So you're saying that, you really shouldn't shut down in terms of education in the summer?
No, absolutely. Like I said, whether it's through places like Oxford Learning to provide an intellectually stimulating environment, or just by doing things like, when you're going for a walk with your child, talk about what's going on. If you've seen that blockbuster movie, talk about how that affects your kid, right?
And that's a very important point. You're saying that it's not only just about the learning in the classroom, it's not only about the learning at Oxford, but also what you're teaching the parents and the students to do at home. So what are some of those tips that you're giving to the parents as they bring their students in?
Well, what I would suggest is, outside of Oxford, do small things. Give your kid a scrapbook. With, social media and technology now, have your kid update a blog and, keep their friends in the loop as to all the fun things that they're doing, like going to Oxford and going to that Camp Kodiak or whatnot that they're going to. And that way what's happening is that you're keeping your kid, educationally, working, I guess, on something that's keeping them involved in that. And that way, when they go back in September, they can feel that they've accomplished something over the summertime and they have something to show for it.
You mentioned you have a number of locations. You are the center director for the Erin Mills location.
For the Erin Mills, yes.
Tell me what the most rewarding part of your job is.
Seeing those smiles. Just knowing that we've made a tangible difference in that kid's life, and getting those cards and those, wow, I didn't know how to add or how to factor, which I'm still trying to work out on the factoring, but and having those kids see those seeing those smiles and saying, hey Sean, look at this great test that I had back. That's really what drives us to Oxford Learning Center.
And in terms of the parents, what is their reaction? Are they often surprised that their kids are doing so well?
A lot of the times the parents, the first thing they'll say is, I don't know what you did, but my kids got a whole lot of energy. They're more motivated, and I feel like you've opened their eyes to the endless possibilities that they have the ability to accomplish. So parents are surprised, but most of the time they're more relieved knowing that homework war that's going to happen, or typically does happen, or those Sunday night, oh my God, I have to do this project, isn't going to happen as often.
Perfect.
Yeah, well, school might be out, but learning is still fun, and it continues through the summer.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sean, for telling us about Oxford.
Thanks, guys.
Great program.
Appreciate
We'll continue giving you some more summer tips.
Chat with you again in just a bit. Speaking of keeping things sharp, Kevin McDermott's in the center director from Oxford Learning Center. Kevin, welcome back. This is a big week, I guess, so we've probably got some school kids with their palms starting to sweat and some parents checking the mailbox or backpacks coming home because it's report card season.
That's right. This is kind of the moment of truth for some kids, for sure. And really, you don't want to panic when you get the report card, but take a look at trends and see if there's anything of a major concern in a particular subject, and really make sure they're going to be ready for the next school year.
Yeah, I think it's a significant report card because, of course, there's going to be this 3 or 4 month hiatus depending on what school you go to. When parents are sort of evaluating the data of the report card and maybe wanting to help their kids either stay on their toes or improve their standing when it comes to certain subject matter, where do you start when it comes to the summer months? Do you just hide all the books and put them away, or maybe put a relaxed plan in place?
Well, you have to realize you do have a few months there, so there's no need to panic right away. And a lot of parents make the mistake of treating it almost like you do like a New Year's resolution. So you say, okay, my goal is to do this, or work on our math skills, and the first 2 weeks they go gung ho, and then forget about it for the rest of the summer. And that's obviously not going to be the ideal approach. You want to, spread it out a bit, but give them a chance to relax, but also make sure their brain stays sharp.
Am I safe in assuming that one of the keys that people should keep in mind is to keep reading through the summer, just to keep the mind moving?
Reading is certainly very valuable. Obviously, you're going to build comprehension. You're going to develop some more vocabulary skills. And the beauty of reading, of course, you can take a book anywhere. If they're driving somewhere in the car, even if you go camping and you get a rainy day or something like that. So perfect opportunity to keep the mind going.
We often hear educators talk about the value that comes with scrapbooking or keeping a journal, and I'm blown away. Talk about a sign of the times. There's now school-age children that are maintaining and updating their own blogs.
Yeah, there's another very important skill, because you tend to lose your writing skills if you do nothing for several months. So Yeah, those are good ideas. Often when kids are going like on a long road trip, that's an opportunity for them. They can kind of be the person who keeps track of, you know, either whether you call it your trip log or if they're going to do it on a blog computer-wise. But excellent opportunity to get their thoughts down on paper.
Okay, now let me ask you, as the expert when it comes to education, what do you make of television? I know it's a general question, but what do you think about the summer months?
I mean,
TV?
television is certainly a good form of entertainment, and you know, on a bad day, yes, you using the television isn't necessarily all bad. There are educational shows, but the problem with television, it can often become like a passive activity, and I kind of compared to the difference between, you know, say watching a television game on or watching a tennis game on TV and actually getting out and playing it. And one, you're getting the exercising your muscles. The other, you're just sitting and watching. So you have to get out and do something. Same thing with your mind. You have to use your mind and challenge it.
All right. Well, in closing, of course, what you do over at Oxford Learning Center is help students focus on specific areas and help kids get to where they need to be when it comes to school. But the whole summer school idea, is it where it used to be? Is summer school beneficial to everybody? Or what do the summer months look like for the average student at Oxford Learning
with
Center?
the type of programs we offer, it's not like, you know, you don't have in your mind where a child's sitting there in a classroom for 8 hours and he's almost locked in, and you know, that's not what we're about. We want to make it fun for them. They usually come 2 or 3 times a week for an hour to an hour and a half, so they still got lots of times to play in that. And we do try to make the program so that it is interesting and something that, you know, they're going to look forward to.
There you have it. And Kevin, you have a great opportunity there, I guess, because all the school sports teams are all wrapped up and all the clubs are wrapped up for the summer, and we can focus on the studies and, of course, getting out and having fun. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank
If
you.
you want to find out more on what Oxford Learning Center does, just check out our website, breakfasttelevision.ca, under the Inside.
Of things to do with the kids this summer, and some of it should involve some learning and some fun with learning. And we've got Oxford Learning Center here with us today. Michelle Brennan-Mann is joining us. She's manager. Thanks for being here.
No problem.
Okay, so before we go into all the possibilities for kids to keep them fresh and keep their minds going over the summer, let's talk about some statistics and what it's telling us about kids over the summertime.
Well, the biggest one that I can share with you right now is that, unfortunately, kids that are not active learning over the summer lose about 30% of their learning over the summer. And so teachers...
30%?
Yeah, it's huge. So really what teachers are having to do is when they go back to school, they spend 4 to 6 weeks trying to reteach some material that the kids should have retained from last year.
Right. Well, and you know, when everyone thinks, you know, summertime, it's time for fun and vacations and holidays and this and that, but there are so many ways that you can incorporate learning into that. It doesn't have to be, you know, sitting at a desk in the, you know, in the house for 8 hours a day.
Of course not.
But there are certain, you know, even games that you can play to keep kids' memories going.
So the best tips that I give for parents over the summer is keep your kids reading. It doesn't have to be a giant book. It can be a really fun magazine. They have tons of great subscriptions out there for kids. Writing a journal, making a scrapbook out of it, taking some pictures of your holidays and just writing a few lines about it. Like you were saying, games. Sudoku is all math-based. Crosswords. There's all sorts of fun learning games that kids don't really think that they're learning, but they're at least keeping their brains active.
The alphabet game in the car for long travel trips, you know, when you're on your way to Toronto or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Now let's talk about Oxford Learning Center and what are, you know, what the possibilities are for kids to go there.
What we do at Oxford is that we do start off by doing an assessment on every child that comes to our center. So we really find out how they learn, how they process information, and where they're having maybe some little problems academically. And what we do from there is we develop an individualized program that's tailored for that kid, and then we make it fun over the summer. It just takes an hour or two a week, so it's not overwhelming. And
Not a huge commitment.
No, not a huge commitment. We take into consideration all the vacations and all the fun stuff too. But it just keeps them at least actively learning over the summer so they don't lose all of that knowledge that they need.
Right. So when they actually go and sit down for their maybe, you know, 2 hours a week, you know, 2 days a week, are they sitting with someone one-on-one? Is it like a mini classroom setting?
It's a little mini group, so we do 3 to 1, and we do incorporate all sorts of activities, making sure that they are socializing at the same time and making sure that they're making friends and learning in the process, but learning the way that they need to.
Right. And that's the thing, is each kid is very individual. Some may be really, really good at reading and lack on the math skills, you know, vice versa. And that's a good thing that you tailor it to each child and what they need and not just overall general learning.
And another little stat is that about 54% of Canadian adults don't enroll their kids into a learning program over the summer. So it's just showing you that, you know, it really is necessary, but too many people aren't doing it yet. So.
Wow. Well, and there's so many locations. How many locations for you through
there
the city?
There are 5 of us in Ottawa now, so in every end of the city. So it's really easy to get to. So the best way to reach us is really to go to our main website and then find the one that's closest to your home.
And there are possibilities during the day and in the evening?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we're open from 9 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. So
you're really accommodating that.
Yeah, we are.
Accommodate the holidays, accommodate the work schedules, accommodate the extracurricular activities, the soccer and whatever, and you can still learn around all of that stuff and hopefully not lose that 30%.
Yes.
Ooh, the break and drain over the summer. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it. Oxford Learning Center.
Full week of summer vacation right now, but that doesn't mean that the learning should stop. Carolyn Siebert of Oxford Learning joins us now with some tips on how to make learning fun. And it doesn't have to be sitting down with books and going over, you know, what they've learned over all year at school. It can be something as taking a ride with your kid in the car and making that a learning experience.
Absolutely. And that's actually one of the best opportunities for discussion with your children, to discuss what they've done during the day, discuss what you see in the car. Because we forget that part of what we ask the students to do during the school year is think.
Right.
And that discussion gives them an opportunity to pull on the vocabulary that they've learned throughout the year, keep their ideas organized, because those are the skills that they need when we ask them to write come September again.
Right. And reading is another important thing, and not necessarily reading school books or anything like that, but reading anything can help.
For fun, reading for fun. And we find that a lot of students are expected to read very, very early on.
You were saying grade 1 now?
Yeah. Going into grade 1, students have a much easier time if they are reading.
Okay.
And so enrolling your children in a program where they are doing some reading and learning to read during the summer is really beneficial.
And you were saying that if you have a child that doesn't want to read, that should be a warning sign.
Absolutely. And then again, the summer is that great time to look into, you know, why that might be happening and to fill in the gaps and give them that jump start to the next year.
Because reading anything really, even a comic book, at least they're reading, right? So that's...
Yeah.
Okay. What about, I mean, you don't want them to just sit out and veg all the time, right? That's not helping their little minds.
No. And that free time is fantastic. But at the same time, without having a schedule, the teachers and the parents work so hard during the school year to teach good time management. So having students involved in creating a schedule for themselves throughout the summer is really beneficial too.
Okay, that might even be helping mom and dad kind of thing if they're still at work kind of thing. So helping with a little bit of meal preparation or making sure the table is set or all that kind of regulation, that a little bit of regulating there. So you were saying that when most students go back to school, there's a high percentage of learning in September that's just been lost over the summer.
Yes. Without those few hours, because sometimes that's all it takes to keep that momentum going over the summer, they can lose up to 2.6 months worth of those academic skills they gained the year before.
So that's why there's so much review in September then when they go back.
Yes.
But, I mean, you can kind of help your kids get an edge kind of thing if you're working with them.
Yes.
Over the summertime. What other tips?
I definitely suggest that they enroll their children in some kind of class. And the parents always tell they had the best of intentions, that they're going to, you know, sit down for those 15 minutes every day and do some reading, do some fun creative writing.
Right.
And 1 week goes by, 2 weeks go by.
There could be programs right at your local library or community center that, and a lot of them, some of them are free, and even summer camps kind of thing. It can be there for fun, but it can be learning as well.
Absolutely. And the libraries in Hamilton do have some really fantastic reading programs, so I encourage all families to go check them out.
Okay. And you were saying that at Oxford, this is your busiest season, summertime.
Absolutely. We have a lot of parents who really notice the benefit of coming back year after year in the summertime, because it really helps keep their children motivated and enjoying school more than anything else.
Okay, because that's the big thing, right?
It is.
Okay,
yeah, learning should be fun.
I was a nerdy kid. I liked school, so it was easy for me to read. But sometimes, and even talking about things with your, you know, sitting down at dinner and talking about whether it's what's happened or what's going to happen.
Yes. Yeah, watching a TV show, and I mentioned turning the sound off during the commercials to discuss what it is that you've just viewed, and if you had to meet that character, what would you want to say to that character, to predict what's going to happen next in a show.
So you can learn from TV.
Absolutely.
Okay, Carolyn, thanks so much for coming in. OxfordLearning.com is the website, and you can check it out if you'd like more information on a location.
Children can lose up to 30% of their grade level equivalency skills over the summer months. So today, some expert advice on how to stop the summer brain drain and make learning a fun part of your everyday routine. We have Kevin McDermott joining us from Oxford Learning Studio, so thank you for coming in.
Glad to be here.
So a 30% drop in skills, that's kind of alarming. What does that mean for a student going into the next September?
Well, often what we've seen in the past with students who've come in the end of August or early September is we do an evaluation or an assessment and find that indeed they have lost some skills if you look back at their past report card, and really what we find is what happens in September, of course, they're scrambling to catch up to get ready for the next year.
Or it means teachers are having to do some catch-up time, kind of wasting valuable curriculum time as well.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so what can parents do so that doesn't happen?
Well, there's a few steps you can take, and when you think about summer learning, sometimes you think, well, I don't want my child to be inside all day and that, but that isn't really required. And the first thing you can take a look at is reading, of course, and obviously that's an important skill that they can build on. There's lots of reading activities at local libraries. Normally they'll have lists for age-appropriate books for kids, and also there's often reading games for younger kids, so that's a great way to start.
And it's easy to take with you if you're traveling. It's easy to pack a book.
That's correct, yes, and instead of looking at the DVD player, they can spend some time at reading in the car for sure.
And how do you suggest kids keep their writing on track as well?
Well, one thing they can do, especially if they are on vacation on a road trip, they can keep a log of their activities, perhaps a journal or a diary if that's something they're into. Even writing thank you notes or letters to grandparents and to other relatives. Those kind of things, can really spur them on and get their creative juices flowing as far as writing goes.
The wish you were here postcards.
Sure.
And what about games? Because you have to make it fun or kids are going to suspect that you're trying to keep them in school.
Yeah, and you think when you're out camping and it's a rainy day, you're looking for something to do. Well, they can do crossword puzzles. There's lots of board games. Even playing cards can introduce a lot of logic skills and memorization that you don't think something is going on, but they're having fun and they're actually learning at the same time.
So do you recommend would every kid benefit from, say, a summer program where you do something every week, or is that, would that just be in extreme cases?
Well, most kids will benefit if it's either for enrichment. Certainly for children who are struggling, this is a good chance to catch up because most kids are so active during the regular school year with other activities that it's hard for them to get a chance to fit everything in. So, summer is a great opportunity for that. One of the big things though as a family, if you can sit down and maybe talk about the books they've read, or if they've just seen a movie, even discussing that and saying, well, what if the character had done something else? What do you think would have happened? Just getting that thinking going and not just making entertainment a passive thing for them.
So if parents decide that their conversation and they're trying to get their kids to read isn't enough, where can they go? You mentioned the library has a lot of reading programs.
Well, certainly we do offer programs for children, and anything from a short duration like 1 or 2 weeks to something they can come in every summer. We try to keep it fairly short so that they can do other things and flexible scheduling. They can come in for an hour and a half, 2 or 3 times a week, so they aren't going to feel like they're locked inside all summer long. And it does give them a good chance to really catch up on their skills.
And I guess as kids get a little older, they sort of appreciate that they're not going back to school, wondering what it is that we learned last year. I don't know.
Yeah, and for high school kids, it can be very important because, if you consider a high school math student, and maybe he's taken math his first semester, now he's gone the whole second semester without any math help, and then he's gone the summer and he's going to be starting a subject again, and he might find that quite difficult.
Yeah, as you start to look to the future, it becomes important. So if you need more information about today's interview and what you can do to help your kids over the summer, you can go to our website and then click on news links. So thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And have a good summer.